Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Arcane Eye.
What's the point of this spell?
Well, I mean, before I read your review, it was kind of the spying tool. But yeah, you've already changed my mind. We'll talk about how. But
Okay.
yeah, what does it do?
Okay, Arcane Eye is a 4th level spell. It's got a cast range of 30 feet, which is unfortunately important. I hate whenever cast ranges tend to be important, but here we are. Just normally it says like the spell has problems. It takes an action to cast. Verbal somatic material components, bit of bat fur, sure, whatever. Concentration and hour duration. You make an invisible magical eye that hovers in the air for the duration. You mentally receive visual information from the eye, which has normal vision and dark vision out to 30 feet, and the eye can look in all directions because it's an eye. And as an action, you can move it to 30 feet in any direction. There's no limit to how far the eye can move, but it can't enter another plane of existence, and a solid barrier blocks its movement. But it can move through up to an inch diameter. And I have to wonder, why is this worth a 4th level spell slot when Find Familiar is first?
Yeah, I guess your familiar is not invisible, so that
Unless it's an imp, which it can be if
Okay.
you're a warlock. But that, yeah, that's slightly more niche. I don't know. Is an invisible familiar worth a 4th level slot?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you're doing with it, I guess. I mean, you if you're spying on somebody, then yeah, you kind of want the spying mechanism to not be noticed.
I feel like that isn't. I feel like the practical applications of that, right? Of you have this need of reconnaissance, this need to gather information discreetly. You need to be within 30 feet of the eye on cast. So either you know the spot you're going to be going into for the next hour, and then you can send it there. This only gives visual information. This does not give any sound. Familiars always give sound, and familiars can wait outside the door that doesn't have a 1-inch gap at the bottom of it and can listen still. That's still something. You can go conceivably the 30 feet to that door and listen at it. Like, with an hour duration, you can send this eye all over the place and just be like, I'm using my action guiding the eye, trying to find secret holes and tunnels and things. I don't see that being worth a 4th level slot. Like, there's a spell that exists called Scrying.
Yeah, I was thinking clairvoyance, but yeah, scrying works too.
Yeah, where it just tells you, it shows you a space, right? Like, let me make sure I'm not crazy. Now, granted, scrying's a 5th level spell, but you pick a spot and you see it for 10 minutes, right? You look at it, and much like the teleportation, you have like a different save modifiers to scry on a specific person. You can just be like, I see what they're doing for 10 minutes. And that feels like the infiltration tool this wants to be. And it's only 1 spell level higher than that. And he doesn't have to go through all the rigmarole of navigating through some lavish estate, trying to hopefully get to where the scene you just want to see and not hear is.
Well, you know what's even crazier? I'm looking at the description right now for clairvoyance, and it's got a mile range. What does it do? It creates an invisible sensor, and you get to choose whether it's visual or audible.
That seems better. No,
and it's 3rd level. Third.
It's cheaper?
Yes.
I'm not seeing it, team. I can't justify the spell's existence. It really, like, it's tough to compete with something like Find Familiar, right? Find Familiar does a lot of things. Like, even outside of being a reconnaissance tool that does this job, it is a useful ally. It can aid you. It can move things around. It's handy. So when we looked at something like Clairvoyance, a spell that I probably have read single-digit times in my life because of the quantity of uses I have for it, and we're like, isn't this just strictly better? Well, you can't move the sensor.
I'm thinking you can't move it, so.
But, like, I don't think maybe you're using the eye to track somebody. Can't you just have your rogue do that?
Yeah, or your familiar.
Your familiar do that? The little pro that no one notices. You can change your familiar's form too on long rest, so like you can make it disguised as varying things. Disguise self is going to be able to do a similar effect for tailing people. There's mundane ways to do that effect. You don't need an invisible eye to do it. If they can detect like those forms of magic that would normally be scrying on them, they can definitely detect an invisible eye. I don't know. I think the most important, I think audible information very often in Dungeons and Dragons is more important than visual information. The reason I say that is because this is an auditory game. We envision what's happening in our minds, and we use the words to paint that picture. That's often going to put weight to words. It's often going to put the villain's plan isn't something that we get to see on a battle map. There isn't a constructed space where he's going over plans over a thing. It's more of he's talking about the plans to an interlope or to a minion or to a
Underling.
partner or something like that, right? Yeah. That is whenever you overhear things you care about. You hear about the meeting down by the docks at 3 a.m. is an auditory experience. Seeing two people meet doesn't hold a lot of weight. They're just there. They're people. The eye doesn't give you the sensory information you really, really need. And like conceivably, you compare this with like the observant feat, so you can read lips really well, I guess. Conceivably, like this eye can navigate into some dungeons, but not all dungeons, and it's going to have weird arbitrary barriers that your DM has to figure out on the fly. Is this door have a 1-inch gap? Does that wall let this thing through? Where can this thing move functionally? Is there a carpet in the way that just blocks it so that there's no it's a brush flush against the floor? There's going to be a lot of times where you would want this to go see things that it just can't. You could conceivably have the scout out a space that you'd want to go into. A familiar can do that better, and this is a class that the only characters that get access to this are wizards. So like you already have a spell that you've been using the whole game that does this more often than not better. I don't get it.
You're a detective, private investigator, and you're trying to catch a cheating spouse.
In what way is that better than a little toad sitting on the windowsill watching them?
Well, I mean, eventually you might notice a toad following him to the motel room. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here.
Yeah, I think most.
I mean,
I don't think there's a use
how many
for
times
this.
do you have wizard private investigators digging up dirt on cheating spouses?
It should be all the time in a realistic version of Dungeons and Dragons, because there's also wizards hiding their affairs, and that's going to require some magic on magic action to uncover these secrets. I can't get excited to cast this. I can't get excited for a player to cast this. I can't see this being remotely usable. I'm going to give this a 1. I really think this is that bad.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, it hurts for me to give it a 2 when it's a 4th level spell, especially I feel insulted that they make clairvoyance. It's an invisible sensor.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
It's an invisible
another
sensor
invisible
where you
sensor.
Want it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to get it there. You just say, I want it to be there, and it's there.
I'm giving it a little bump extra for the mobility. That I feel might come in handy once or twice, but yeah, just like I did with, I forgot what spell it was. It's a low 2.
It's definitely bad.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Arcane Eye. I got nothing else.
All right. Yeah, me either.
It's a bad detection tool.
That was Arcane Eye. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.